The sky was painted in red and gray, filled with smoke and the smell of burnt metal. A lone human named Ryan Hale walked through the ruins of an alien city, his boots crunching on shattered glass and broken armor. The once bright towers now lay in ashes. He had seen many battlefields before, but this one felt different. Too quiet, too sad. Ryan moved slowly, scanning the wreckage with his handheld detector. The machine beeped weakly. No human signals, only traces of alien life fading fast. He sighed. Another lost world, he muttered under his breath, but then a sound reached his ears. A soft, trembling cry. He froze. It wasn't mechanical, it was alive. Small, fragile. The kind of sound that didn't belong in a dead city. He turned, following it through the smoke until he reached a collapsed building. The cry came again, weak but full of fear. Ryan pulled off a few metal panels and found something hidden beneath. A small alien girl, maybe 5 or 6 years old in human years. Her skin was pale silver, her hair glowing faint blue under the dust. Her large eyes shimmered like stars through tears. She looked half-starved and terrified. For a moment, Ryan didn't move. He wasn't used to this, a soldier rescuing a child of the enemy. But when she looked up at him, his heart felt heavy. She whispered, voice shaking, Are you a human?" Ryan knelt slowly and nodded. "Yeah, I'm human. You're safe now, little one." The girl blinked, then reached out a trembling hand toward him. Her tiny fingers touched his glove, and she whispered something that froze him completely. "Will you be my father?" Ryan's eyes widened. He stared at her, not sure if he heard right. "What did you say?" Her lips trembled as tears ran down her dusty cheeks. "Everyone's gone," Mama said. "Humans are kind," she said. "If I ever see one, to ask for help." Her words cut through the silence like a blade. Ryan looked around. The wreckage, the bodies, the silence, and realized she might be the last living thing here. He sighed softly, then reached out and lifted her into his arms. She was light, almost weightless, like holding a shadow. "All right," he said quietly. "Let's get you out of here." The girl buried her face in his chest, holding his armor tightly. Ryan carried her through the ruins toward his small shuttle. As they moved, she whispered, "My name is Aria." He gave a small smile. "I'm Ryan." When they reached his ship, he laid her gently on a seat and started the engines. The interior lights flickered as the ship powered up. He checked her pulse, weak but steady. She needed food and rest. "Are you hungry, Aria?" he asked. She nodded softly. He handed her a ration bar. She sniffed it curiously, then took a small bite. "It tastes strange," she said with a faint smile. Ryan chuckled. "Yeah, it always does." As the ship rose from the surface, Aria looked out the window. The burning city below shrank into the distance. She reached for Ryan's hand again. "Will you leave me too?" she asked quietly. Ryan looked at her and didn't answer right away. He thought of all the soldiers he'd seen, all the people he couldn't save. Maybe this time he could do something different. "No," he finally said. "Not today." Aria's eyes sparkled faintly. For the first time since he found her, she smiled. A small, gentle smile that melted the cold inside him. But then, a warning light blinked red on the control panel. Ryan frowned and checked the sensors. Something was following them, an unknown craft moving fast. He gritted his teeth. "Damn it. They're tracking survivors." He turned to Aria. "Hold on tight." The engines roared as he pushed the ship higher into the sky. Through the rear camera, he saw a dark figure in the clouds, an alien drone scanning for life signs. If they caught her, the girl wouldn't survive. Ryan changed course toward a dense storm zone to lose them. The ship shook violently, lightning flashing outside. Aria screamed and hid her face in his arm. "It's okay," he said, gripping the controls. "I've got you." After a long moment, the radar went silent. The drone was gone. Ryan exhaled slowly. When he looked down, Aria had fallen asleep, clutching his hand tightly. Her small chest rose and fell with soft breaths. Ryan stared at her for a moment and whispered to himself, "What did I just get myself into?" Outside, the clouds cleared. Stars shimmered across the dark void, cold and endless. But for the first time in years, Ryan didn't feel alone, and somewhere deep inside he already knew. This was only the beginning. Ryan sat in the pilot's seat, eyes fixed on the quiet stars ahead. The little alien girl, Aria, slept beside him, her small head resting against the seatbelt strap. The ship hummed softly, drifting through the void like a wounded bird. For a moment, all he could hear was her slow, steady breathing. He leaned back and sighed. "You sure picked the wrong guy to call father, kid," he muttered under his breath. But deep inside, part of him already knew. He couldn't leave her behind. Hours passed before Aria woke up. Her glowing eyes blinked slowly as she looked around. "Are we safe now?" she asked in a tiny voice. "For now," Ryan replied, checking the radar. "No one's following us." She sat up weakly, rubbing her eyes. Her silver skin looked dull under the cabin lights, and Ryan could see faint bruises along her neck and arms. He frowned. Whoever had done this to her didn't care that she was just a child. He opened a food pack and handed her something warm. "Eat slowly. You need strength," Arya nodded, taking tiny bites. Between them, silence hung heavy. Then softly she spoke. "You didn't have to save me. You could have left." Ryan looked at her. "Yeah, but I didn't. Why?" she asked. He hesitated, then shrugged. "Guess I'm just tired of watching innocent people die. Especially kids." Arya tilted her head, studying his face. "You talk like Mama did," she said quietly. She said humans were brave. And sad at the same time. Ryan didn't answer. He didn't want to remember the wars, the orders, or the faces he couldn't forget. Instead, he asked, "Where's your mother now?" Arya lowered her eyes. "She told me to hide." Then the sky broke apart. "I never saw her again." Her voice trembled, and Ryan could tell she was fighting not to cry. He looked away, feeling something twist inside his chest. "I'm sorry, kid," he said softly. She shook her head. She said, "If a human ever finds me, I should trust him. Because humans keep promises." Ryan gave a short laugh, bitter and quiet. "We try to. Not all of us are good at it." Arya crawled closer, looking up at him. "Then promise me one thing," she whispered. "What's that?" "Promise you won't leave me. Until I find Mama." Her little voice was full of fear and hope mixed together. Ryan wanted to say no. He wanted to tell her he wasn't a hero, that he couldn't protect anyone. But when he saw her eyes, bright, fragile, desperate, he couldn't say the words. He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "All right," he said finally. "I promise." Arya smiled faintly, then leaned against him. "Then you're my father now," she whispered, and soon drifted off to sleep again. Ryan sat there in silence, watching her. He didn't know what he'd just agreed to, but it felt heavier than any mission he'd ever taken. Suddenly, a loud beep echoed from the console. The radar flashed red, multiple contacts approaching fast. Ryan cursed under his breath. "They found us already?" He switched on the stealth field, but the power gauge was low. His ship wasn't built for long fights. He turned to Arya, who stirred awake. "What's happening?" she asked, her voice small. "Trouble," he said, tightening his grip on the controls. "Hold on." 3 alien crafts appeared behind them, sleek and black, with red symbols glowing on their wings. Ryan knew that mark. It belonged to the Vor Dominion, a brutal empire that experimented on anything they feared. If they wanted the girl, it wasn't for kindness. "Unidentified vessel," a cold voice echoed over the comms. "You carry forbidden life. Release the hybrid and you may live." Arya's eyes widened in panic. "They want me," she whispered. Ryan switched off the comms and muttered, "They'll have to go through me first." He flipped the engines to full power. The ship roared forward as laser fire streaked past the hull. He dodged, twisted, and spun between asteroid fragments. The little ship rattled, alarms blaring. Arya screamed and grabbed his arm. "Trust me," he shouted. As they dove into a debris field, something strange happened. Arya's hands began to glow. The control panels flickered and the ship suddenly moved faster, smoother, almost alive. Ryan looked around in shock. "Arya, what are you doing?" "I don't know," she cried. "It just listens to me." The ship shot forward like lightning, vanishing behind a cloud of asteroids. The enemy scanners lost them completely. Ryan slowed the engines, heart pounding. He turned to her, breathless. "You just saved us," he said quietly. Arya looked down, scared. "I didn't mean to. It just happened." Ryan stared at her glowing hands, then at the faint light now pulsing through the ship's walls. "You're something special, kid," he murmured. "And whoever's chasing you knows it." He stood and placed a hand on her shoulder. "I promised I'd keep you safe. I'll keep that promise no matter what it takes." Arya nodded slowly, her eyes filled with tears, but this time, they weren't from fear. They were from belief. Outside, the stars shimmered again, but far behind them, the Vor fleet marked their position and began the hunt. The promise had just begun to cost everything. The silence of space was broken only by the steady hum of the engines. Ryan kept one hand on the flight stick, the other gripping a side control, his eyes scanning the endless black void. The ship drifted near the edge of a dead planet's orbit, hidden inside a thick belt of debris. Arya sat quietly in the co-pilot's seat, hugging her knees. The soft blue glow from her skin faintly lit the cabin. She hadn't spoken much since the escape. She looked at the stars like she was searching for someone she'd never find. Ryan exhaled slowly, trying to calm his thoughts. He still didn't know who exactly she was or what kind of power she held, but he knew one thing. The aliens chasing them were willing to burn galaxies to get her back. He adjusted the scanners. No signals yet. We might have lost them, he said. Arya nodded but didn't look at him. They'll come again. They always do. Her voice was soft, full of quiet fear. Ryan turned to her. You've been running for a while, haven't you? She nodded, eyes glimmering. Ever since Mama told me to hide. The Vor soldiers came. They wanted my core. Ryan frowned. Your core? She hesitated, then pressed her small hand against her chest. A faint pulse of light appeared beneath her skin. It's not a heart, she said. Mama built it from human energy. She said it's something both worlds could share. But the Vor call it a weapon. Ryan sat back, trying to take that in. A child created from alien and human DNA, carrying something powerful enough to change a war. No wonder they wanted her. He rubbed his temples. So your mother, she was a scientist? Yes, Arya whispered. She studied human genes and said humans have something no machine can copy. Ryan raised a brow. What's that? Arya looked up at him and smiled weakly. A heart that chooses. Her words lingered in the air like a small spark in the dark. For a long moment, Ryan couldn't speak. He looked out the window at the vast, cold space beyond, and for the first time in years, he felt warmth in his chest. Then the radar beeped. Once, twice, then screamed in warning. Ryan jumped up. No, how did they find us again? The scanner displayed 3 red signals approaching fast. The Vor ships had locked onto their heat trail. Ryan slammed his hand on the controls, powering up the engines. Arya, strap in. We're not done running yet. The ship roared forward, weaving through the debris field. Explosions flashed behind them as the Vor opened fire. Plasma bolts streaked across the darkness, lighting the shattered metal around them. Arya clutched the armrest. They're getting closer. Ryan gritted his teeth. Not for long. He spun the ship into a narrow asteroid tunnel, scraping its hull against stone. The engines flared and the ship dove deep inside the rock field, but one of the enemy ships followed them in. Its red lights glowed like a predator's eyes. Suddenly, the ship shuddered, one engine hit by a glancing blast. Sparks flew inside the cabin and alarms blared. Arya screamed as smoke filled the air. Ryan slammed his fist against the control panel. Come on, baby, stay with me. The screen flickered, and then the strange light inside the ship began to pulse again, reacting to Arya's heartbeat. Ryan turned to her. Arya, do it again. Whatever you did before. The thing with your hands. I don't know how. She cried, you can. Just focus. Arya closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. Her small hands began to glow brighter, trembling as the ship's metal around them vibrated. The alarm stopped. The damaged engine reignited with a blast of blue fire. Ryan's eyes widened. You did it! The ship shot forward faster than before. The Vor craft tried to follow but crashed into the asteroid wall, exploding into pieces. Ryan laughed breathlessly, gripping the controls. Remind me never to underestimate you again. Arya slumped back, exhausted. It listens to me because it's alive, she said faintly. Mama said the ship was born from her energy. And mine, Ryan blinked. Wait, your mother built this ship? Arya nodded. It's part of me. Ryan sat back, stunned. The pieces were coming together. The girl, the core, the ship, all linked by alien technology and something deeply human. Whoever her mother was, she'd created something the galaxy had never seen. Arya looked up weakly. Are you mad? He shook his head. No, but it means you're in more danger than I thought. She smiled tiredly. That's why Mama said I needed someone with a human heart. Someone who doesn't give up. Ryan met her gaze and said quietly, then she picked the right man. Outside the window, a shadow moved through the stars. larger, darker, watching from far away. The Vor fleet wasn't done. They were gathering more ships. Ryan didn't notice it yet, but the next battle was already being prepared. He looked down at Arya, now asleep again, clutching his arm like it was her home. He whispered to himself, "You're not just a mission, kid. You're hope." And in the endless sky full of shadows, one small human and one little hybrid girl began a journey that would change everything. The small ship floated in silence above a cold, gray moon. Its engines hissed as it landed on an abandoned base half buried in dust. Ryan powered everything down, no lights, no signals, no noise. The Vor couldn't find them here, at least not yet. He stood at the doorway, looking out at the empty horizon. The place felt forgotten, haunted by echoes of old wars. But to him it was better than drifting in the open sky. Arya stepped beside him, wrapped in a worn blanket. "Is this our new home?" she asked softly. Ryan gave a faint smile. "Just for tonight, kid. We'll keep moving tomorrow." He led her inside the base, a dark, silent structure of broken halls and flickering lights. Dust floated like ghosts in the air. Ryan found a small control room still working and started a fire using the emergency unit. The orange glow filled the space, warm and soft. Arya sat close to the flame, holding her hands out. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Ryan looked at her and smiled faintly. "That's fire. Old Earth tech. Keeps you alive when the universe tries to freeze you." She tilted her head, eyes wide. "Humans, you always fight the cold, don't you?" "Yeah," Ryan said quietly. "We fight everything." They shared a small meal, and for a while it almost felt normal. Arya laughed a little when he showed her how to roast dry food on a stick. Her smile lit the room brighter than the fire, but the peace didn't last long. A sudden buzz came from the communication console. Ryan's heart stopped. Someone had found a weak signal. He ran to the screen and froze when a holographic figure appeared. A tall alien in black armor, eyes like molten gold. "The Vor commander." "Human," the voice hissed through static. "You carry something that doesn't belong to you." "Release the hybrid child," Ryan's jaw tightened. "You mean the little girl you were trying to kill?" "She is no child. She is a weapon," the commander said coldly. "Her existence violates the balance treaty. Hand her over and you will live." Ryan laughed bitterly. "You think I'm afraid of dying?" "Humans always are," the commander sneered. "But this one is not your war. Do not make it so." Ryan leaned closer to the screen. "You're right. It's not my war. But it's my promise." The commander's eyes narrowed. "You would die for a creation that is not even of your kind?" Ryan's voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "She asked me to be her father. And fathers don't hand their children to monsters." The alien's face twisted in anger. "Then you have chosen extinction." The signal cut. Ryan turned to see Arya staring at him, fear shining in her glowing eyes. "They found us?" she whispered. He nodded. "Probably tracked the signal. We've got to move." Arya stood quickly, panic in her voice. "You could leave me here." "They want me, not you." Ryan turned sharply. "Not happening, but they'll kill you." He walked up to her, kneeling so their eyes met. "Listen to me, Arya, you're not a weapon. You're a child. And no one is going to take that away from you. Not while I'm breathing." Her lip trembled. "Why are you so kind to me?" Ryan smiled softly. "Because somebody once was kind to me when I didn't deserve it. Guess it's my turn." Before she could answer, the ground trembled. The sound of engines filled the air. Outside, the horizon glowed red. The Vor fleet had arrived. Ryan rushed to the ship's controls. "We're not running this time," he muttered. Arya gasped. "But you said we can't fight them." Ryan loaded his rifle and checked the ship's defense grid. "I said we can't win easily. Doesn't mean we won't try." The base shook as plasma strikes hit the outer walls. Dust rained down from the ceiling. The commander's voice boomed over the loudspeakers. "Last chance, human. Step aside." Ryan looked at Arya. "Get in the ship and stay there. No matter what happens, don't come out." She grabbed his hand. "Please don't go." He smiled gently. "You wanted a father, didn't you? Well, fathers fight for their kids." He stepped out into the open moonlight, the wind howling around him. The Vor troops lined up, red armor glowing under their ship lights. Ryan stood alone before them, rifle in hand, heart steady. The commander stepped forward. "You cannot protect her." Ryan raised his weapon. "Watch me." The first shot cut through the dark and the battle began. Inside the ship, Arya watched through the window, tears rolling down her silver cheeks. She pressed her hand against the glass, whispering, "Please, Father, come back." And outside, among the ruins and fire, one human stood against an army, refusing to surrender what he now called family. The ground shook as explosions thundered across the moon base. Dust clouds rose into the thin air, and the night sky flashed with burning plasma fire. Ryan ducked behind a broken wall, reloading his rifle with shaking hands. The Vor soldiers moved like shadows, silent, disciplined, deadly. He took a deep breath, pressed his back against the wall, and whispered to himself, "One more minute. Just hold one more minute." Inside the ship, Arya watched in horror through the front window. Her small hands pressed against the glass, her glowing eyes wide with fear. She could see Ryan fighting, alone against dozens of armored figures. He moved fast, using every bit of cover, every bit of human grit he had left. "Please, please don't die," she whispered, tears glimmering down her silver cheeks. Outside, a plasma bolt hit the ground near Ryan and threw him off balance. He rolled, hitting the ground hard. Pain shot up his side, but he forced himself up, firing back. His shots hit 2 Vor soldiers square in the chest, dropping them instantly. But there were more, too many. A cold voice echoed through the battlefield. "Human, your fight is meaningless." It was the Vor commander standing tall on a rock ledge, his golden eyes glowing like fire. "Hand over the hybrid. You have done enough damage." Ryan spat blood and shouted, "Come and take her yourself." The commander raised a hand and a wave of drones swarmed forward, small machines buzzing like angry insects. Ryan fired wildly, hitting some, dodging others, but he was being surrounded fast. Inside the ship, alarms began to beep. Arya's hand shook. She felt something deep in her chest, a pulse of light like a heartbeat calling her name. The ship responded to it, lights flickering as if alive. "Don't go out," she whispered to herself. He said not to, but when she saw Ryan fall to his knees, blood staining his arm, something in her snapped. She ran to the ship's ramp, ignoring the warnings flashing red. The ramp hissed open. Wind howled through the base as Arya stepped out, her small form glowing brighter with every step. Ryan saw her and gasped. "Arya, no! Get back inside!" But she didn't listen. She walked toward him, eyes shining white-blue, energy crackling around her hands. The Vor soldiers stopped moving, stunned. Even the commander froze, sensing her power rise. "Leave him alone," she said softly, but her voice carried through the air like thunder. One of the soldiers stepped forward to grab her. Arya raised her hand. A wave of pure light burst outward, knocking the soldier back like a rag doll. His armor melted where the energy touched. Ryan stared in shock. "Arya, what are you doing?" "I'm keeping my promise," she said, her voice trembling. "You protected me. Now it's my turn." She spread her arms, and the air around her shimmered like a storm. The drones exploded midair, and the remaining Vor soldiers dropped their weapons, shields sparking. The commander roared in anger. "You don't know what you are, child. You'll destroy everything." Arya looked up at him, tears in her eyes. "Then I'll destroy the pain you made." The light around her grew brighter until it became blinding. Ryan shielded his face, shouting her name, but the blast of energy swept across the entire base, silencing the battlefield in one massive pulse. When the light faded, the ground was scorched, and the Vor soldiers lay unconscious or gone. Only Ryan and Arya remained standing. The girl collapsed to her knees, trembling and weak. Ryan rushed to her, catching her before she fell. Hey, easy now," he whispered, holding her close. Her body was burning hot, her small heart beating too fast. Did I do good?" she asked faintly, her voice fading. Ryan's throat tightened. "You did perfect, kid. You saved us," she smiled weakly. "That's what fathers do, right?" Ryan nodded, his voice breaking. "Yeah, that's what fathers do." She closed her eyes, the glow fading slowly from her skin. Ryan carried her back to the ship, stepping over the silent battlefield. He laid her gently on the medical cot and covered her with a blanket. Outside, the moon was quiet again, but above them, in the dark of space, more ships were moving. The Vor fleet wasn't defeated, they were regrouping. Ryan stared at the radar, his face hardening. "They'll come again," he muttered. "And next time I won't just run." He looked at the sleeping girl beside him, so small, so fragile, yet powerful enough to shake the stars. He whispered, "You're not a weapon. You're my kid, and if they want you..." He loaded his rifle, eyes cold and determined. "They'll have to go through me and every human left in this galaxy." The engines roared to life, lifting the ship into the dark sky again. But neither of them knew. The real war had only just begun. The stars outside the ship looked calm again. But inside, Ryan's heart was anything but calm. The hum of the engines filled the silence as he sat beside Aria, who still slept in the medical bay. Her skin flickered faintly with light, sometimes blue, sometimes silver, as if the stars themselves lived under her skin. He had cleaned her wounds, patched her burns, and wrapped her in a warm blanket. She looked peaceful, but he knew something wasn't right. No normal child could release that kind of power and live. Ryan leaned back in his chair, rubbing his tired eyes. "Who are you really, kid?" he whispered. The ship suddenly beeped. A soft voice came from the console. It wasn't Aria's. It was recorded, gentle, and familiar. "Hello, human." Ryan froze. The voice spoke again. "If you are hearing this, then my daughter still lives." He turned to the console, eyes wide. A hologram flickered to life. A woman, alien yet human in shape, with glowing blue skin and calm silver eyes. Aria's eyes. "My name is Dr. Lyra Van Hal," the figure said. "I am or was a scientist of the Vor Dominion. I studied human DNA, and I believed humans were more than what our kind saw." Ryan leaned forward, listening closely. Lyra continued. "Humans fight, destroy, and fail, but they love. That emotion, that stubborn will, cannot be created in a lab. I wanted to save that spark and combine it with our technology," Ryan whispered. "You made her." Lyra nodded in the recording. "Yes. Aria is part of both worlds, human and Vor. I used the genetic code of an ancient human soldier, one who fought in the old wars, whose records I found in the ruins of Earth's archives. His name was Ryan Hale." Ryan's heart stopped. He stood slowly, staring at the hologram. "That's impossible." Lyra smiled softly in the projection. "Not impossible. You were chosen long before you met her. Aria carries your DNA, your instincts, your courage. In a way, she truly is your daughter." Ryan's knees felt weak. He sat back down, whispering to himself, She's my blood." The hologram flickered again. "If you are still alive, human, she will need you. The Vor will never accept her. But with your guidance, she can unite what we never could, emotion and creation, humanity and reason." Then the recording ended. Silence filled the ship. Ryan sat there for a long moment, staring at the dark screen. The weight of everything hit him like gravity itself. The girl wasn't just a child he rescued, she was his creation, his legacy, his second chance. A faint voice broke his thoughts. "You heard her too?" He turned quickly. Aria was awake, her eyes half open, looking at him from the bed. Ryan swallowed hard. "Yeah, I heard." Aria sat up slowly. "Mama said you'd find out one day." Ryan tried to smile, but his voice trembled. "You knew?" Aria nodded. "She told me. Before the soldiers came. She said I had a part of a human inside me. I didn't know it was you." Ryan reached for her hand. "Listen, kid. You don't have to be afraid of what you are. You're not just some experiment. You're," she finished softly, "your daughter." He smiled then, a real tired smile. "Yeah, my daughter." She reached out, touching his face. "Does that make you happy?" Ryan's throat tightened. "More than you can imagine." But their moment didn't last. The ship's sensors started beeping again, fast, urgent, angry. Ryan jumped up and checked the console. "No, not now." The radar showed a massive object approaching, far bigger than any ship they'd seen before. "The Vor mothership," Ryan muttered. "They must have traced Lyra's signal." Aria's eyes widened. "They're coming for me again." Ryan loaded his rifle and started powering up the engines. "Not if I can help it." But before he could take off, the entire ship shook violently. A red beam locked onto them from above, holding them in place. The Vor had caught them in a gravity snare. Ryan cursed, trying to break free. The metal groaned, lights flickering. Aria stood, her small body trembling. "They'll take me away," she whispered. Ryan turned to her, fierce and protective. "Not while I'm alive." But Aria stepped forward, eyes glowing again. "Then let me try, Father." Ryan froze. "Aria, what are you doing?" She looked back at him, a small tear sliding down her cheek. "I was made to protect both worlds. Maybe this is how it starts." Her light grew brighter, filling the entire cabin. The gravity beam began to distort, bending under the pulse of her energy. Ryan shouted, "No! You'll burn yourself out!" She smiled faintly. You gave me life. Let me give it back. Then everything turned white. Outside, the Vor mothership's beam shattered like glass, and the moon's surface exploded with light. When the brightness faded, Ryan's ship was gone, swallowed by the stars. The stars drifted like cold lanterns in the dark sea of space. Pieces of shattered metal floated where the Vor mothership once stood. The giant warship was gone, ripped apart by a wave of light that had spread across the system. From the wreckage, a single ship emerged, burned, cracked, barely alive. Inside, Ryan Hale gasped awake, his chest heavy and his vision blurred. The cabin was filled with smoke, sparks flickering from broken wires. He coughed and pulled himself up. "Arya," he shouted, voice echoing in the silence. No answer. He stumbled toward the medical bay, pushing debris aside. "Arya, talk to me." Then through the haze, he saw her, lying motionless near the glowing core. Her skin dimmed, her breathing shallow. The light that once pulsed softly under her skin was fading fast. Ryan dropped to his knees beside her. Hey, stay with me, kid," he whispered, touching her small hand. It was cold. Too cold. Her eyes fluttered open, faint and tired. You're still here." "Of course I am," he said, forcing a weak smile. "You think I'd leave you now?" Arya's lips trembled into a tiny smile. "I thought I was gone. But I felt you pulling me back." Ryan shook his head. "You saved us, Arya. You stopped them all. You did something impossible." She turned her head slightly, looking out the cracked window. The stars reflected in her fading eyes. "Mama said I would bring peace, but I didn't think it would hurt this much." Ryan clenched his fists, guilt burning through him. "You shouldn't have done that alone." "I should have." She reached up weakly, placing a glowing finger on his lips. "You did enough. You stayed." Her touch made him freeze. In that moment, the ship's lights dimmed completely. The power core was almost dead. He realized she had given everything to destroy the Vor ship. Every bit of energy that made her who she was. Tears welled in his eyes. "Don't do this to me, kid. Don't you dare leave me too." She gave a tiny laugh that sounded like a sigh. "You used to be a soldier, right?" "You lost people?" Ryan nodded slowly. "Too many." "Then, don't lose me," she whispered. He gripped her hand tighter. "I won't." Arya's light flickered again. The core behind her glowed faintly, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Ryan looked at it, remembering Lyra's message. She carries the heart of both worlds, maybe. There was a way. He stood up quickly, running to the control panel, connecting wires manually. The systems were failing, but he didn't care. He rerouted power from every remaining circuit into the core. Sparks burned his hands, but he kept going. Come on, he shouted. Arya weakly opened her eyes. "What are you doing?" "Something stupid," Ryan said with a half-smile. "But that's what fathers do." He grabbed a cable and connected it directly to his wrist port, forcing his own energy into the system. Pain ripped through him, but he didn't stop. Arya's voice trembled. "No, you'll die." "Maybe," he said, gasping. "But I'm not letting you go alone." The ship's interior began to glow, the energy flowing from him to her. His heartbeat synced with hers, two rhythms becoming one. Arya's light grew brighter, her breathing steadier. "Stop, please," she whispered, tears forming in her glowing eyes. Ryan smiled weakly. "No, kid. You're not done yet. You've got a whole universe waiting for you." The light around her burst, filling the cabin in a blinding flash. When it faded, Ryan collapsed, breathing hard. The power cables sparked and went still. He blinked up at the ceiling, dazed. Then he heard a soft voice. "Father." He turned, and there she was, standing, glowing again, alive. Arya looked down at her hands, light flowing like gentle rivers under her skin. "You gave me part of your life." Ryan chuckled weakly. "Guess I really am your father now." She knelt beside him, wrapping her small arms around his chest. "You always were." He hugged her back tightly, his eyes closing in relief. Outside, the stars shone brighter, reflecting off the ship's cracked surface. Moments later, a message came through the ship's faint comms, a broadcast from nearby colonies. Unidentified light wave detected. Vor fleet destroyed. Peace negotiations initiated. Humanity request contact with unknown signal source. Ryan smiled faintly. "You did it, Arya." "You really did it?" She looked up, her eyes full of wonder. "No, we did it. Together." The ship drifted quietly toward a golden sunrise over a nearby planet. For the first time, there was no chase, no fear, only calm. Arya sat beside Ryan, holding his hand. "Where will we go now?" He smiled softly. "Anywhere you want, kid. The galaxy's open now." She leaned her head against his shoulder. "Then let's go home." He looked out at the glowing horizon and whispered, "Home sounds perfect." As the ship entered the light of a new dawn, one truth echoed through the stars. A child born of two worlds had found peace, and a weary human had finally found something to live for. She had called him father once in fear. Now she called him father in love, and this time he stayed by her side forever.